Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, checking in on the US MJ sector. Definitely still a lot of weakness out there. We're seeing the weakness in the Canadian MJ space. We saw some shifts in US MJ, but still a lot of proving that the bulls have to do in order to get some follow through. Some names have shown us some follow through, other names certainly have not. And one thing I want to point out is penny stocks. Someone commented on a Canadian MJ video talking about, what about fire? And how fire dumped at the end of the day and how that had some relation to potentially the ETFs rebalancing. All that aside, when you have penny stocks listed on the OTC at all-time lows or at multiple year lows, I have absolutely no interest in those names. And the reason being, at that point, to me, fundamentals mean absolutely nothing. Because who fundamentals matter to, the target market for fundamental investing and trading, those people don't trade on the OTC. They're trading the NASDAQ and the NYSE. So these names that are in this scenario of extreme weakness and are penny stocks, really they pump. They definitely pump at times, and it's orchestrated to a certain degree. But when they're not pumping, it's just a slow fade, and it can always go lower than you think it can because the fundamentals don't matter. And there's so many games being played in stocks in general, and it's just magnified on the OTC. It's the absolute Wild West. So I'm referring to fire, but I'm also talking about I'm talking about MedMen, I'm talking about TILT. So I'm just going to take those off the list. Tilt here is down. Looking at the weekly time frame, we're coming off the all-time low. We're at a penny stock right now. We're in a tightening range. You could say this equilibrium just broke bearish by breaking 80 cents, and I certainly wouldn't argue with you. 69 cents is the all-time low. If the bulls can break 104 on volume, it's worth paying attention to, but if they can't, it's not worth paying attention to. And 69 cents is the only support. So names like this, honestly, I just have absolutely no opinion because the only reason you would be looking to get into those names is for fundamental reasons. Well, they have this asset or this much growing space or this much value. But again, if you're looking at fundamentals on a penny stock traded on the CSE and the OTC, just know that there's not many other people that are doing that as well. So MedMen, going to take it off the list. We just broke down. A lot of shares are going to be unlocking, I believe, in November, but in 2019 at some point. And those shares being added to the count just increase the supply, and demand certainly not that high. So the weekly time frame dropping to lower lows. Daily chart in all-out dump mode. We have not seen any two real green days in a row since the top of that bounce. It was an impressive bounce, but we saw absolutely no follow-through. The red flag started right about here in the $3 range, the low $3, when we lost the daily uptrend and said, well, there's no real follow-through at this point, and now we have to watch to see if the bulls can form a weekly high or low. They did not. So again, off the list. I'm just not interested. It's a great way to lose money, and I learned this from trading penny stocks for 4 years when I started with stocks, and I can't tell you how many times I said to myself, and I said in chat rooms and things like that, I can't wait till we have legitimate companies to trade in this space, and I'm not going to go back to penny stocks at all-time lows because, again, it's just a great way to lose money trading stocks regardless of fundamentals because there's so much more at play than just fundamentals, and those who have been around penny stocks for any significant amount of time certainly know that. So let's get back to it. GWPH, bullish earnings reaction, but again, no follow through. And as we've seen with APHA and ACB and all these other names, we get big bull moves. Even Curaleaf, we get big bull moves and we don't get follow through. We just fade back down. We have to change the daily trend for it to mean anything. So we closed fairly weak on Friday. We will look for a higher low to form compared to 147.91. If we cannot change this daily trend, it's back to business as usual for the bears on their slow fade. So the bulls have to hold a support level and then have to break 175.35 to change this daily trend. And if that doesn't happen, we're just going to be looking for a choppy tightening daily range. And let's pull up Curaleaf just because we're on that subject. Curaleaf, remember that big bull move we had where we went 35, almost 40% in just 4 days. We never changed the daily trend, and here we are giving back all of that move almost. Well, not all of that move, but a lot of that move. We closed weak down at the low of the day. The only thing the bulls have going for them is there's not a lot of bear volume on this pullback. Support of 897 is key to hold. If 897 breaks, we're looking at a gap fill of 865 and then right back to the low of consolidation. So I do have some Curaleaf positions. I spent Friday morning exiting some positions. Reason being, we saw a lot of euphoria Wednesday. When I see euphoria, the first thing that clicks into my mind is I should think about taking some profit. And that's because I like my account balance better than I like fantasizing about what could be if the price keeps going up in the short term. So Curaleaf, I still have positions in Curaleaf, OH, IAN, who else? TRUL, but way less on TRUL. And I've exited the majority of TRUL. I exited a good chunk of IAN. And again, that's just me trimming positions, selling into some strength, and then maybe reloading cheaper into weakness further down the line in a couple weeks, who knows. But at this point, if Curaleaf were to break 897, that would make me much less interested in this name because the daily equilibrium would not be playing out. We are consolidating on the weekly, so the bulls can save it here. Again, notable bull volume, no bear volume, and if we can change momentum, it's going to take a lot of work, but a weekly trend change has to hold 802 and break 1103. Again, not going to happen anytime soon, but it is a possibility. Step one is hold 897, and then we would bounce and look for a daily lower high to form. But right now, Curaleaf is on the chopping block. I got the end of the video here with some footage of turkeys on the waterfall, and they are all right back right now. Got a family of turkeys in front of me. IIPR. So tightening range, definitely keeping an eye on things. We've got support down at 97.28. We've got resistance up at 110. I'm just using that psychological round level because it has come into play and we pulled back just above it and just under it so much. So 110 key resistance and support 97.28. Potential inverse head and shoulders pattern. The bulls would have to hold 97.28 and break 110 in order to change that daily trend. IAN. So IAN's pulling back. It closed at the low of the day on Friday. That hourly time frame lost the uptrend. So that means zoom out to the daily chart and watch for a daily higher low to form. Bulls must hold 351 and still looking for a bull cross of the exponential moving averages, trying to form a daily higher low to keep the uptrend, but don't lose sight of weekly time frames still being weak on a lot of USMJ names and always needing to remind ourselves, yes, the bounce was great. Yes, we saw the momentum shift, but we can always go lower. If you have that mindset in the back of your head that we can always go lower, it makes you more protective and it makes you sell into some of these strength moves and have cash for in case we do go lower. So IAN, hourly time frame, anything under 415, just a lower high. Decent amount of little bear volume there at the end of the day on Friday. So no sign of a daily higher low being set at this point. So TRUL, clearly something's up with all this bear volume. Couple speculations. Number one, the shares that were released to free trading, 10 million shares a couple weeks ago, could be hitting the market and exiting those positions. Number two, some fresh headlines with the association of the CEO, her husband, on trial for fraud, or I don't know the specifics of the charges, but not a good optic, and that trial is going forward, and that's fresh in the headlines again. So clearly negative reaction to that. We got the red flags in the sense that we got no follow through on the daily trend change. The daily inside bar broke bearish. That's where I exited the majority of what I had. And again, just trimming positions to free up cash and to keep from bag holding essentially. And it's okay to exit with small losses. So my game plans for both TRUL and Curaleaf were entering for daily higher lows. And that worked well for TRUL, entered on this big red candlestick, and we saw the start of what I was looking for. And then the red flag was, nope, that's not the move that I entered for. So rather than holding and hoping, please recover bulls, make it back up again, I instantly start to exit that position because it's not what I was looking for and it's not going according to plan. So for CURA on this pullback, entered into the consolidation and then just stopped entering because I'm not going to keep scaling in. And if we do break this support level, I will be looking to exit that position. So it's going to be on the chopping block, and I won't necessarily exit on the break, but I would then exit on the hourly oversold bounce, because if we did break that level on Monday, we'll be in hourly oversold conditions, and I would look to exit on the hourly lower high. So for TRUL, this is definitely a big red flag. We're looking at the low of consolidation, 1177. And again, another name where you look at the numbers coming out of Florida as far as sales go, they're doing just fine as far as fundamentals, but this is not a market. This is not an exchange, the CSE and the OTC, where fundamentals are prized. It's where hype and emotion are prized. And these names will absolutely run with tons of hype, but we are not in that stage yet. So TRUL, if we break this 1177 level, we're going to be looking down at 1139 next, and it will just be a new weekly lower high set at 1431 in this weekly downtrend of lower highs and lower lows all spring into summer. CWEB. So CWEB on the daily time frame, we've got our range of 3010 resistance, and we've got our support of 2505, and we're watching this tightening range. That's the two levels that I'm most concerned with. If we see a break of the double top, 2725 and 2727, we'll be looking up towards that level, but I would still expect a lower high compared to 3010. If we drop down and break 2505, we lose the daily uptrend, and that means zoom out and look for weekly consolidation again. So far the consolidation has been notable. There have been some solid bounces on the way down, but it's all about that low of consolidation. If that can hold through this coming week, the bulls will breathe a sigh of relief, as that is just fine for the bulls because the burden of proof is on the bears. The bears must break that support level in order to regain any momentum on CWEB. OH got some follow through. Again, that's another red flag. We got some follow through on the daily bull break to start the day. Looked good. Sector was weak. Going to be hard for an individual name to go green when the rest of the sector is pulling back red big time. Pretty much just TRU, or actually it was VFF that stood out green in the MJ space. And one other name slipping my mind. We'll get to it, I'm sure. But OH, weak. And if we break 713 on OH, we are going to be looking back at 675 and then the low. So as soon as I saw the weakness in the MJ sector, and as soon as I saw OH starting to pull back from the initial strong start, first thing in the morning, immediately I'm taking position off and I'm selling some position and locking in some profit. OH was the holding that I had the best entering on, down here right before the bull move got going. So ensuring that I'm going to lock in some of that profit and offset some of the red that I'm in the Cura position right now. So weekly time frame, can this be a bear flag? Absolutely. We can definitely drop down and break 640 support and head towards $6 into August. Just be aware that that is an absolute possible scenario. We saw a solid bounce back here in June. It was a solid 25+%, and it just led to lower lows. I played that bounce in June, had a good position, locked in profit as soon as we started dropping back down. And if you'll remember, this was the level breaking that I started to exit because we lost the daily higher low. That's not what I was looking for on the bounce. Momentum faded, exited, and pretty much almost the same scenario is happening with OH right now for me personally. CL, just a weak bounce. We knew a daily lower high was coming, daily exponential resistance. Bulls are going to have to hold 940 and break 1071 to try and change the daily trend and get over the daily exponential resistances. And of course, any weakness in CL isn't going to be helping OH, which is tied to it to a certain degree as we're waiting for the potential of the pending deal. Keep in mind, just a little side note, we have earnings for a good number of names coming up. I think Wednesday of this coming week has the most earnings of names that we look at here. So just be aware, if your individual name has earnings, a lot of earnings in August, and that's certainly going to affect the short term. GTII, right back to the low, 1139 broke. We dropped down to 1129. So just a weekly lower high and lower low. And again, the fact that GTI is doing this increases the odds that other names like OH could do it as well. So the next support level for GTII is going to be down at 1008. Just a weekly lower high being set, bear flag after bear flag. And on the daily time frame now, anything under 1311 is just a lower high. HARV, choppy action. Bulls have to hold 680 and break 779 to change anything and to prove anything to me. And if we don't, we're just going to look to fade back to the lows. I've lumped HARV and GTII together over the past week plus just because the daily charts have been choppy and a lack of clarity. And GTII clearly making things more clear now for the bears. Harv yet to do so. If we break 680, then it will be more clear and favoring the bears. KSHB, again, big bull move, big time 3-day move of 16%, zero follow through, no daily trend change. So I'm a broken record because I've been saying this for 3 months at this point, mostly for Canadian MJ names, but there's a bunch of US MJ names that fit the bill as well. So 429 is support, 499 is resistance. Bulls must hold 429 and break 499 to change any momentum. But even if we hold 429, I'm just going to be looking for a lower high to form in the upper $4 range, and for this range to continue to tighten. Bulls have a lot of proving to do, and they're not doing it. CVSI, bearish reaction to earnings, worth watching for a short-term trade if you're looking for a day trade and a bounce, because 301 is essentially a triple bottom, and the Bulls have to see a break of 327 to change the hourly trend and get this daily bounce going. Daily oversold bounce will get going if we change the hourly trend. So it's a potential bottom fishing play off of $3 psychological support, and if $3 were to break, daily RSI would get back down towards those teens, and essentially after $3, we're looking down at 276, which is a very key support level. That's the lowest price we've seen in a year. And aside from that, that's a key low of consolidation. And that's the other point. You know, I'm making these points about fundamentals and names traded on the OTC. So many of these names, just looking at FIRE, I don't know anything about FIRE, the Canadian MJ ticker. I don't know anything about their fundamentals, but I know that we are at the price right now where we were 2 years ago. And the amount of leaps and bounds that we've seen in this space in Canada in 2 years to be at the same price point, I mean, what more proof do you need that fundamentals are playing such a very little role here? And aside from that, the fact that its peers are up hundreds of percent over the same period of time, that's a huge red flag. That tells you something is not right. Can't tell you how many people in the penny stock world that I've watched fall in love with a company and then just lose their money and stay in denial while they lose their money. And it's depressing to watch happen. And it happened to me to a certain degree with one individual company, and it will never, ever happen again. NBEV. So NBEV did drop to a lower low under 335. Not a whole lot of follow through. If the Bulls can get over 385 and 398, it will be noteworthy for a shift in momentum. Otherwise, Bulls just trying to build a base of support in the 330s. So there's our base of support. Now the question is, can the Bulls break the lower highs and do something with it? Daily, nope, I was going to say daily inside bar, but that's not the case. PYX, gap down, breaking the lower lows, looking at the weekly time frame. 1130, let's see, actually it's 1182 is the next support. We bounced off 1180 and then 1130 after it. But just giving back this whole move, and if this monthly time frame enters a downtrend with a lower high and lower low, again, giving back all of this move and heading back to the lowest prices that we've seen in a couple years would be a definite red flag. The Bulls better show up here. Anything under 1479 is just a lower high. And just another name, look at this big bull move, $13 to $18, zero follow through, zero trend change, 40% move, gave it all back. ZYNE, daily trend to change. We have to see the Bulls hold 941 and break 1178. If that happens, we zoom out to the weekly chart. We would look for a lower high compared to 1570 on the weekly. But if this daily trend changes just after losing that weekly support, that's a good sign for the Bulls, just in the sense that we didn't see a whole lot of bear follow through. We didn't see a lot of Bulls exit their positions and have to see the daily trend change. I know I'm a broken record at this point, but it's the same scenario for so many individual names. CXXI, trading sideways, penny stocks, so I'm not interested, but if we break 94, that will be the first shift in momentum in many months. And if we see a bear break of 78 and 72, then we're looking down towards the all-time lows. Obviously, giving back this much of that move. I mean, I called it a pump and dump. How many months ago did I call it a pump and dump? Just based on price action alone, having nothing to do with fundamentals, just saying that trading groups and individuals jumped into this name and pumped it and dumped it. And here we are giving the vast majority of that move back. So the bottom line is the OTC is not helping this sector at all. It is the biggest limitation to this sector right now. Obviously, federal laws, biggest limitation to the sector. And tied to that, is the fact that these names are stuck on the OTC, where fundamentals fall by the wayside as far as their importance goes. So I will continue to be watching this space. I will continue to be playing around with short-term, smaller positions, building for the potential of a momentum shift. Again, there's nothing wrong with waiting for the momentum shift to take place, whether it's the first daily trend change. Right now, we're in a scenario where the US MJ names are getting more daily trend changes than Canadian MJ names, but those daily trend changes aren't resulting in a ton of follow-through. Waiting for weekly trend changes, you're going to give up a good amount of reward from the bottom, 50%. But as far as your risk goes, you're going to cut your risk way down. So you're not going to make as much as people that are more aggressive trying to get in on the daily momentum shifts. But as far as losing money, you will limit that by waiting for weekly trend changes. It all depends on what your style is and what your game plan is. What we know, or what I know, is there will be massive hype in this sector at some point, and just patiently waiting for it. So I appreciate you watching. Do good things out there. Remember to stay protective. Bottom line is just always have a game plan. If your game plan is establishing positions and you don't mind sitting red, that's perfectly fine, as long as that is the game plan from the get-go. The last thing you want to be doing is entering a position for a daily trend change, like if TRUL. So I entered TRUL because of the daily trend change, and then if I just held it when the daily uptrend is then now lost, my game plan goes out the window, and now I'm a bag holder, and that's how it happens. So we have to stick to the game plan. Thanks again. We'll see you Monday. Have a good rest of your weekend. Just slowly trimmed as we continue down. I did play the bounce. There's turkeys flying on the roof. Hey guys, could you not do that to my plants, please? Hey guys.